is up, everybody? Welcome back to Strange New Show. Keith and Mike watch Star Trek Strange New Worlds. It's been worlds since we've done an episode because we had our vacation and we're back a day late, but don't worry, all is well.
We're here.
How is everybody doing out in the world, and how are you, Mike?
I'm good. Ah!
Oh, God!
Jeez!
I didn't even notice that.
Good God, man! Just when you think it's safe to go to work at the Enterprise.
Wait, what? Did you just add that during the intro, or did I just not notice that
I
the
added
entire
it at the intro? I was saying.
Okay, because we were talking for like 20 minutes before he went on. I mean, I probably wouldn't have noticed it anyway.
Yeah, I know. That's why I did the beat. I'm good, man. It's great to see you. Distance makes the heart grow fonder. I'm energized. I'm happy to do the show. I'm excited to do the show. CEO Jen is out of town for the weekend, so I can't wait to do the show. I'm going to see a scary movie tonight, Keith. I'm going to sit in my beanbag chair. I'm just loving it. I'm loving living, baby. Let's do this thing.
Jen texted me a picture of your beanbag chair yesterday, and I'm like, Mike is filling out his dorm room.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
classy.
It's a beanbag chair.
And wait, the reason for the beanbag chair is the ultimate. I just didn't want to sit. My futon's just a couple feet too far from the TV, and like I'm an old guy, and so I've been sitting on the floor, and my butt gets sore.
To be fair, this is like a 65-inch television, and the futon, I've been there. It's maybe 7 feet from the television.
But I've been sitting on the floor 4 feet from the television, so I was like, I'm getting me a beanbag chair.
You know, maybe you just need new glasses, buddy.
It's a fair assessment, Keith. It's a
but
fair assessment.
like, you know, you need like a, because it's now basically a dorm room. You need like a Pulp Fiction poster.
No,
and like
this is so much classier than a dorm room. No.
A little wooden box you made in shop in high school where you hide your weed.
Dude, my dorm room. I bought so stupid. My dorm room. I bought a spindle of blank CDRs. And just pasted them to the wall so they were like a shiny piece of artwork.
Were they like a girl repellent?
I don't. And then there was like an OK Computer poster, a Reservoir Dogs poster.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Of course.
And just a PC for Napster only.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's.
But anyway, Keith, I was away for the weekend.
The only thing sadder than that was mine. So
I was away for the weekend, and for the folks, for myself, I got off the train, I drove home, I got out of the car, I went directly inside, and the first thing I did was start Strange New World. I didn't even like put down my bags. I just started recording, and here we are.
Did you watch it in your beanbag chair?
You're dang right I did.
Oh, right.
And if you want to watch me in that beanbag, just lounging with every cat came to say hi because it was something new, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
You can check that out, patreon.com/K&M.
If you want to see Mike's beanbags chair, go to patreon.com/K&M.
Keith, you know somebody, a barista at some place told me I had beautiful eyelashes, and the whole day I was like...
Wow, there it is.
There's a peek inside whatever's happening up here.
That is all Mike needs. All Mike needs is someone to compliment his eyelashes.
Just tell me I'm beautiful.
Well, you know, we all need to feel we're all beautiful in our own way,
you're
Mike.
Right, absolutely.
All right, so enough of this nonsense. Let's get into the show. And we always start with your viewer ratings for last week's episode, 2 weeks ago, Charades. And here is what you thought.
Too soon.
People liked this one for the most part. Jason Moe gave it a 94. Kevin Miles, 93. Worf's Bootchevs with an 84. Harry Pothead with a 92. And JD's like, with a 68. So those
What did we think?
Well,
I've forgotten it entirely.
But it's where Spock goes human, remember?
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think you liked it.
I did.
Here, I'm gonna pull up the official stats. You gave it an 80, and I gave it an 83.
Oh, okay. We did like it.
Yeah, respectable. But today we're going to talk about Lost in Translation. Gonna be fun. Now it's time for the About the Episode.
There you go.
Yeah, we did it. All right, so this aired on July 20th, 2023, just about a month ago. The top song again, was last night. Yeah, go to hell.
Yeah, not
The
happening.
The top movie, however, this was the beginning of Barbie's reign.
Come on, Barbie, let's go party.
Nope, that's just disturbing. Yeah. So you know who watched Barbie? That surprised me. Big fan of the show. More of a fan of you than anything else. My mom
Yeah.
went to go. I don't think she's gone to a movie in
On
20
my
years.
recommendation, let's say yes.
Sure. Yes. Because you said so, and not because her book club went. But whatever.
What are you guys reading?
I'm not in the book club.
I'm speaking directly to your mom.
I can't read.
I'm speaking directly to your mom.
Yeah, it's a good question. She wanted to watch a mystery, and so we watched Gone Girl while I was there.
Keith, let's say for Thanksgiving, or you pick it, right? Maybe it's just a random weekend in November. You're like, Mom, I'm coming to visit. She's excited, right? But then you roll up, and out of the car comes you and me. Does her excitement level increase? Does it skyrocket? What would be the word you would choose? What would her excitement level be?
Oh, her excitement level would definitely go up. You want to know what would make it skyrocket? Is if just you got out of the car. With some flowers, maybe a bottle of wine.
Come on now. Don't make it weird. I can't have...
It's already been weird.
Have friends?
It's so weird already. Where's my soundboard? All right. Anyway, I'm so sorry. You know, this is what happens when like Mike and I haven't actually seen each other in a while because we took a vacation. So now we just want to chat.
Yeah.
We don't actually want to. All right. So let's get into the hard news from 20 years before. So here we are in 2003. A couple of things here. We got a message from God. From a space station miracle, but I think this is where the real truth comes in. From 2003, President Bush has a shocking plan to invade the moon.
I would say it was probably discussed.
I mean, I just like invading stuff, right? You know, I had to go to the moon, gotta get the Martians.
This one really drives him nuts.
It does. So he really wants.
In the way. What's that other one up there? We got fat-eating worms suck the blubber right out of you.
I thought it was fart-eating worms. That would have been so much better.
So much better. Oh, I wish we could retroact it.
Oh well, you know, worms, farts, whatever. You just fill in the joke yourself. All right. So this episode, Lost in Translation, was directed by Dan Leo, who last directed Memento Mori. Good episode. And this was written by Onitra Johnson, who last wrote The Elysian Kingdom, and David Reed, who wrote Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow.
When is the episode I have homework for?
Next week.
Okay.
You got and actually I have homework. I think you're safe to watch the first season.
Okay. This is of Lower Deck?
Of Lower Decks. Lower Decks plural. It definitely fun, and I wouldn't go very far because the more you see of Star Trek, the better it is, the funnier it is.
Okay.
But I think you'll certainly get the concept of it. Watch the first couple episodes before we do next week.
Okay.
Because that will be important. All right. Well, you want to know who's already done their homework? It's the people who are on top of their stuff. It's our patrons who you can join at patreon.com/KNM and see Mike's beanbag and lots of other things. Mike, who is on our patron list this moment and what are they getting?
The people who are just virtually chilling in the beanbag dorm room with me: Bryant, Kimball, Beersock, Casey Clark, Jason Moe, Joshua Cronin, Andrew Hayes, Jorge Novoa, and that mysterious household. Is Anne just our favorite person right now because she sends us the funniest stuff? Can't wait to share it with you. Well, some of you, the patrons maybe.
I'm hoping to talk Anne into letting us do it for the patrons only.
I think that's a great idea.
I want to do an entire episode on that episode. Just for the patrons.
Anne wrote a Star Trek musical is what we're talking about. And we had asked for submissions years ago. It feels like years ago. And we finally got one. Worf's Big Ol' Boot Shivs, Charles Babbage, Richard Coleman, Harry Pothead, CRM Productions, Nikolay Ivanovich Lobachevsky, The Illusions at Noon, Steve Brown, YouTube Viewer, JD Makes, Colin Dagan, Chris Mitchell, CRM, Pat, Joshua Cronin. Just like them, you can send us stuff in the mail, toys, or otherwise. We thank everybody. They get some good stuff, but mostly they get the pride, the shame of being, the infamy of being producers of this very show. Patreon.com/K&M. Join the team.
I bet they didn't think they were going to get so many beanbag jokes. But that's what you're paying for.
Been there, done that.
All right, so we are going to do another segment they're all paying for. It's Trivial Trivia. Now, Keith, waste your time with Trivial Trivia. Okay, there's not, it's a brand new show, so there's not a lot here, but this is the first meeting of Kirk and Pike in the main timeline. Now, they have met in alternate timelines, but this is the first meeting. This is also the first meeting of Kirk and Spock in this timeline. Lots of really big, important, things happening here.
Kirk Kirking all over the place. Just Kirk stains on the wall. If you are a female within 11 feet, you better have some sort of protection.
For sure. So Pike being temporarily promoted to fleet captain and meeting Kirk was mentioned in the Menagerie Part 1, way back in the original series. And this one I just added for myself because this is our first Next Generation style 10 Forward concert, complete with space drums. So that was a long-running thing on Next Gen. They did concerts in 10 Forward all the time. And so this is the first time we've seen live music in 10 Forward here.
Very cool.
Yeah, it was. I enjoyed it. I'll have more thoughts about it later. But now it is time to introduce our guest stars. Well, boy, we got some biggies here. Of course, Paul Wesley is back as James Tiberius Kirk, and Bruce Horak is back as Hemmer. Welcome back to the show. I missed you. Dan Jeanette is here as George Samuel Kirk, and Michael Reventar as Ramon. And of course, Carol Kane is back as our good friend Pelia. Which means it's time to go into our screening room. What do you say?
Mike, take it away. This one, ba-da-da, I won't give it away, but I am. All right, let's just roll.
In our teaser, the Enterprise has arrived at a giant deuterium collector near Gorn space that mysteriously they can't get working. And Uhura explains it all in a log. And as she sits there thinking about her log, Pike is speechifying, but Uhura is too tired, and we find out she isn't sleeping well. We also learn in this that Pike has temporarily been named fleet captain to be in charge of the Farragut and the station. For reasons. It's all just a way to shoehorn Kirk into an episode for utterly pointless reasons, but he does get a fancy upgrade to his Delta. I get, they want to put Kirk in it, but, that was the lamest, excuse to get him on board, I think. We don't even see the Farragut.
So they're fueling, both ships are fueling up.
No, they're both there to get it working.
Oh, right.
Because the station's not working, and apparently we need 2 starships, the second of which does nothing. We don't even see it.
And because there's 2 there, they had to name one of the captains to, be in charge of both?
Yes, well, that's true. That you you always need to have a
fleet captain.
Somebody's in charge of what's happening. But isn't there any other way to bring Kirk aboard that makes any sense whatsoever?
It didn't bother me.
Just take 5 minutes, take a coffee break in the writer's room, and come up with a better reason. Whatever.
Ooh, salty. Okay.
Whatever. You got a note from the network. We need Kirk in half of the episodes, but come on. You had a better reason.
It would be interesting. I mean, I guess the only thing I would add to that criticism is if they really needed both ships to be there, let's say, to fix this thing, let's say, maybe the Farragut has a great engineer aboard. Why don't we see anybody else from the ship helping out with?
They
Carol
don't even
Kane
try to make it make
one.
sense. Because like what you said, like some technobabble reason they need 2 ships to power the whatever, the blah blah blah, or there's a super engineer, like you said. Any of that would have made sense. We didn't even try to address any of that.
Okay.
Anyway, I'll move on from that. We see a really cool shot of the Bussard collectors as they start sucking in deuterium for themselves.
Yeah.
I don't remember ever seeing them actually in action like that. The only Trek I haven't seen is some of the later seasons of Disco, which I just haven't caught up to, but I don't think I've ever seen that in another Trek series. Anyway, I thought it was really cool and finally like explained what those things are. I mean, we knew that conceptually, but we never saw them how they work. I thought that was a really cool little shot there. So, but while they're doing it, Uhura hears a weird noise that she can't identify or replicate. So she goes to recalibrate the communications array by herself with the assistance of a Hemmer cameo that she put up on YouTube. Hemmer's doing a YouTube explanation as to how you recalibrate the communications array. But she gets caught by Pelia, who is, of course, like, what are you doing monkeying around with my ship? And Pelia remembers that Hemmer was one of her students.
This is the best line in the whole episode, I think.
Just like, it wasn't that great.
She's like, he was a great student. You know what? I just said that because he's dead. He was mediocre. I guffawed.
It was great, and it becomes a running gag where she points out everyone was a mediocre student to her.
I also think that, spoiler alert, they took our note and they are using her as a paprika rather than a salt, and I think it's perfect.
A Pelia.
You know what? I appreciate the effort, buddy. It was good. Good, right thought. Bad execution.
You tried to have you trying to record an episode like first thing in the morning on a Saturday.
I was trying to give us a Saturday.
I know. I'm going to go to the I'm going to go to the tag sale.
The tent sale. All right.
I'm going to go to the tent sale. It's going to be so much fun. Anyway, she also asks Uhura why she's never talked to her. Been on the ship this whole time and they've never spoken. And of course, we're setting up Uhura's, like, she's not over Hemmer's death, and kind of nobody is.
I also like that we're setting up Pelia's sort of just sheer blunt force trauma. She don't have 2 F's to give. If she feels you've been avoiding her, she'll let you know. She's
lived for 10 trillion years. Like, what does she care?
Yeah.
She's got no time. People are, dropping dead right and left. So later, Pike and Una chat about what's going on with the refinery and why it's not working, and they set Una the task of being the mean boss on the station. But then,
in the YouTube video that was filmed, Keith, it is interesting that they're both in the shot. Like, who's taking the video? What creeper? Is there like a drone maybe doing it?
It looks pretty handheld. I think they had like an intern.
Okay, maybe the dude that dude who unfortunately doesn't make it through the episode, who gets redshirted.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, it always happens this way. But you can see you have an ability to switch cameras, just like you get the front facing, the back facing. You can zoom. I don't know why I have to press a button to zoom. But
yeah, the UI is a little dated, but
Yeah, well, whatever. It's cool though, just hitting it on the iPad, and you just have an intern do it. But we don't get out of our teaser before Uhura sees, I think, one of the more memorable pieces from this episode, Zombie Hemmer. Look out. I thought that zombie makeup was amazing.
Yeah, it was great. Great beat. And I thought, actually, the whole time, they gave us the spooky season, the sort of horror elements that we've enjoyed about previous episodes, but without all of the cribbing. And I thought that you would appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun and it all sort of made sense. And I really liked the image of Zombie Hemmer. It was a good way to bring him back.
Yeah, we'll talk more about it. But the episode that popped to mind, the Deep Space Nine episode that I felt like this did better was, remember that Deep Space Nine episode with the weird masked man who played with the balls, the juggling guy who just showed up he was a MacGuffin, wasn't really anything. I feel like this is a better version of that.
Well, he was the bad guy in Dax's previous hosts.
It wasn't good.
But yeah, well, hey, but guess what? You don't know it yet, but coming up this week in Deep Space Nine, maybe we'll get into that a little bit more.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, how's that for timing?
Well, now, generally, when I have horrific ambient delusions, going to the doctor's a good idea. So that's here what Uhura does.
That's what way to transition into Act 1, where Mbenga checks over Uhura, and he says, you're hallucinating because you were exposed to refined deuterium. And they keep hitting the insomnia thing, but it's just a red herring. So on the station, Una starts giving orders when Pelia comes up. They're going to work together, and they're already butting heads. And I wrote down here just what you said. Carol Kane has either dialed it back a bit, or I'm getting used to Pelia. And I think it's probably a little combination of the two of them.
You know, it's like sushi. I don't know what, you know what I love? I was just saying this the other day. My brain operates faster. Like there's a portion of my brain that operates faster than the portion of my brain that filters. And so I'm often surprised about what I just said. Like literally the word, I feel surprised about the actual words I just said. Like I didn't know they were happening. I don't know how to explain it
Anybody
better.
who has ever listened to this show knows that.
I know, but I find it surprising too. Because it's a little scary, but I've learned in my older age to just like trust myself. Anyway.
Yeah, no, it is. Well, it is one of the skills of doing a show like this is being able to just keep talking.
Mm-hmm. That's why I really, and I mean this 100% wholeheartedly, one of my dream jobs is to host at QVC, because just tell me what I'm selling, give me the bullet points, and then make me talk for 3 hours.
You'd be great at that.
Yeah, well.
How does one get that gig? Might get that gig.
Well, I've sent my stuff in many times. I think that, I don't know. I'm gonna keep plugging because I think I'm the tech. I be that guy. I can sell you a borderline absolute shitty laptop, but make it sound like grandma needs it. So
no, I mean, grandma, you need USB plugs, man.
256 megabytes of memory. It's all you need. You can put a whole book on there. Anyway, what I was
got a
say,
CD-ROM player.
It's like the ginger slices you get with sushi. Ginger, that much raw ginger, it's just it's unpalatable. But when you get just a couple slivers, perfect refresher.
It's like wasabi. I love wasabi. Mm-hmm. I personally think wasabi is the best part about sushi.
Yeah, but it's an acquired taste, much
it
like
it is. Pelia.
Carol Kane.
There it is. So that was
the analogies for this are done. You get our point.
We circumnavigated the moon that Bush is inviting to get to that.
Yeah. Or invading. Here we go.
Or invading, yes. So later, Uhura still can't sleep, and she hallucinates that she's on a planet somewhere looking at a bunch of black smoke, but we don't know what it is yet. Then we're in the transporter room, and holy crap, Kirk has arrived for reasons.
It was a really slow beam, too. Did that stand out to you?
Oh, yeah, no. Well, they got to give him the hero beam because it's Kirk's first time on
Is the hero beam a thing?
Sure.
I mean, thought it was just like maybe the ship was so far away. Was there some sort of science to it?
No. This was just like we want to really beam him in slow because it is technically a momentous moment because this is Kirk's first time stepping foot on the Enterprise.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why they highlighted that so much. And he's greeted by his brother. Much more to say on that later.
Yeah, I have strong thoughts about that relationship.
I do too.
Okay.
I do too. So they head to 10 forward and immediately argue about their sibling rivalry. Kirk is chasing exciting career stuff, becoming the youngest first officer ever because their father likes that kind of stuff. And his brother chose science instead of flashy stuff. And the future Captain Kirk is kind of a dick about it, saying he's wallowing in science. Like, fuck you, dude.
Actually, yeah, it's funny. That line, I really have an idea for how this plan panned out.
We both have brothers, so we're going to get into it.
Yeah, we can talk about that. But I really think, my impression is that at the first pass of this, they didn't have that line. And you're like, Sam, why are you coming at me, bro? Like, you need to relax. He comes across like so impetulant. So they're like, well, we have to make it a little less Sam's just kind of a whiny little brother and make it more of a tete-a-tete. And so they gave Kirk a little bit of talk down to him, but I think they gave him much more dicky lines than makes sense to me.
Well, I
because Kirk's just doing Kirk.
I didn't actually see Sam as being petulant here.
Oh God, no! What is Kirk doing? He's just doing his thing. He's not doing it to spite his little brother.
No, but I took Kirk being James Kirk as bringing up the whole thing defensively. Did Sam even bring it up?
Yeah, Sam instigates the whole thing. You got to go rewatch that scene. It's all Sam being a little bitch.
I thought it was Kirk,
and I'm a little brother. I get
just
my brother is Kirk. My brother was
science loser says what?
My brother was the first to graduate high school in my family, the first to go to college, the youngest principal in Pennsylvania history. Just did all the things. Never felt jealous. Was always proud of him. Just don't have any rivalry with my brother. So I get it. I am not a stand-in for Sam here, but.
No, I get it too. My older brother had a national album with his band and an Emmy nomination before I graduated college. So,
yeah. But I never held it against him, which is the interesting thing. It seems like Sam's got a beef with the dad, but that's a
of course it's I mean, almost all sibling conflict is about the parents in some fashion, but for whatever reason,
that one line from Kirk I thought was pretty prickish, but then
really distasteful.
But later in the episode, well,
he's even prickier.
Oh, I don't think. Well, okay.
Okay.
This Kirk has worked his magic on me because I'm like,
okay, guys, write down. Are you hashtag Team Sam or hashtag Team?
Yeah, I'd like to know because I feel like Sam comes off as like a whiny, like a whiny little ass here.
No.
I'm so curious. Please
I'm 100% Team Sam. I don't know I'll go back and watch the beginning of that. I watched it twice. I'll go back and I'll watch the beginning of that interaction.
Well, because Sam's like, the first thing they say as they're drinking, Sam's like, "Congratulations on your blah blah blah," and he's like, "What? What are you saying it like that for?" And he's like, "Well, remember you have the dad. Remember?" I'm not doing him justice.
Maybe if you had a porn stash.
Yeah, you're right.
That would be the way. Anyway, it's clear who the favorite son is, and that's why Porn Stash is upset about it. So. To be continued. Back on the station, Pelia has figured out that someone is sabotaging the systems. Meanwhile, and here's what we've been waiting to find out, Chapel and Spock are playing chess trying to figure out if they're dating or not. Spock wants to make it official, while Chapel wants to keep it cash. 100% understand this dynamic. Uhura comes up and says...
I did think it was a little thick with the symbolism, but... That said, it worked. The analogy was good, and their chemistry is excellent. So I thought it was a really solid scene.
Well, it is in keeping with the characterizations, yes. Right? We know that Chapel is a little dicey about relationships, and that she does not like labeling things and whatever. And Spock is more like, okay, we've done it, and so I've definitely been Spock and almost everyone I've dated. So
I love the Kirk tag is great too.
Yes. So Uhura comes up and doesn't think that she has deuterium poisoning, and neither of them are having any of it. No one's listening to her.
Which is weird, because they almost always listen to her.
It is weird.
One of the things I've always liked about everything Trek we've watched mostly is that there's never the scene of I'm telling you, this is what's happening to me, and everybody ignores them. I hate that. I mean,
to be fair, they blow up a giant space station on her just cuz.
Yeah, this is why that doesn't work very well for me later. You can't have your cake and eat it too. What we believe her or we don't believe her, right? Because we'll get there.
Okay.
She's the only one who makes any sense, right? She figures it out. She's like, I don't have deuterium poisoning. By the way, you should lock me up until you figure it out. And he's like, no, go ahead, traipse it out. It's cool.
Absolutely bananas that they didn't I have very strong feelings about that. Bananas.
We lose the wheels a little bit later, but
what are you doing? The guys who
he just blew a hole in the ship.
Blew up half of the ship, and they're like, no, keep doing what you're doing.
Okay, we'll get there.
Insane. All right. So, anyway, So she sits down at the bar and immediately gets hit on by Kirk, who denies that he's hitting on her. Sure. And
He's
Uhura shuts him down.
Why can't he be friendly?
Well, I mean, but like he chases her. She says, no, I don't want to talk to you. And he literally chases her through the ship.
Okay, Keith. Simple yes or no. Does he get the date?
Yes. As a superior officer who chased her down.
Saves her life, the only one who believed her, gets that drink at the end. And he's got La'an waiting for the next drink tomorrow night. He's Kirking, baby!
He's definitely Kirking. He is 100%
everywhere.
Kirking. He definitely is. Yeah. And this is a very toned down Kirk from Shatner.
Which is crazy.
Shatner would have like banged every female cast member would have already been Kirk.
I'll never forget that episode I just watched, where, that they kind of made an episode about earlier, where the young newlywed, the husband dies, and the next scene, Kirk rolls into in his nightie, rolls into her bedroom, and he's like, "How's everything?"
It's unbelievable.
Oh boy,
no surprise. Anyway, so she leaves and has another hallucination of a bunch of dead people. Then she fights herself, Us style. Remember that movie?
Mm-hmm.
The Jordan Peele one? But it turns out to be Kirk, whose nose she just busted.
And that's the same beat. That's why it reminded me of the episode with the mask guy. Because doesn't somebody punch the mask guy and it was somebody else?
Yeah, she does have I think, it's like Kira or something like that, waking her up. Yeah, no, it definitely, well, this is like a trope we've done many, many times. So in Act 2, Kirk talks his way into her quarters, and they agree to team up to solve the mystery. On the station, Pelia and Una find a Federation officer freaking the heck out. He's also been hallucinating and has been the saboteur. Ramon has kind of lost it. So we find him, he's freaking out. So we go to Uhura's quarters, and she hallucinates a red alert. Then the bridge view screen explodes, sucking everybody into space. Very cool effect.
Until we see the guy freeze. That didn't work as well for me, but... Yeah,
well, and it's weird because they did it 6 times. Because they froze everybody, then they went back and froze him later. Whatever. I mean, how many people have you seen freeze in space?
Somebody on the team mocked that up and was like, "Hey guys, check this out! I did this on the weekend." They're like, "Yeah, throw it in."
Yeah, we'll work it in twice in the same episode. Pike then meets with Uhura, saying, basically, "WTF? What's going on?" Kirk comes in to their private meeting without knocking, and meets Pike for the first time in real life. And he confirms that the same thing that's happening to Uhura is happening to Ramon. So they go to sickbay. Weird
that news needs to be broken to Pike. You know what I mean? I feel like he would have been in on that earlier.
Pike's lack of involvement in this episode bugged me. Because we've now invested.
Pike has proven that he would have believed her straight up. When she was like, I don't think this is right. And then he would have been the first to be like, let's go to medbay. Let's do a scan of your brain. Let's scan. He would have been 2 steps ahead. They're all playing chess, right? He would have recognized that what happened with the saboteur guy.
Yeah, well, Pike behaves... Pike's IQ is 30 points lower in this episode.
Yeah, it's weird.
And also, it's Strange New Worlds. It's about Pike. Why is Pike a background character on his own show? Why have we given 2 full episodes to Kirk? He's not there yet. I don't quite understand. I think Paul Wesley is great. I think it's I don't dislike the character, but I don't understand why there's 10 episodes. So 20% of the season has been about Kirk.
Yeah, we've talked about that when we saw him the first time, because I was like, I get it, and I wonder if, normally I would say, oh, well, the nostalgia factor, the nods to the things to come, that's the demo, and Kirk is charting off the charts, right? But it's streaming, so I don't know. But I guess it is weekly. But no, they've already written the episodes, so it's not
these seasons are fully produced before they start airing.
So it's not like we just did a swerve because he was testing so well. So it's a conscious choice. It is a weird one.
like I can certainly imagine that the plan is at some point to hand off to Kirk. Like Pike. Pike's got to die. Pike's got to. He's got to deal with this thing, and then we'll pass. They're hoping to pass off the show, and then we sort of continue on a new take on the original series. But it's season 2. We're barely halfway through season 2. It feels like they're preparing for the handoff at the end of this season, not in, because they said he's got 6 more years. So like, aren't they going to do the handoff in if the show continues, right?
Denny Crane.
Give him another 4, like 6 seasons, and then hand off to Kirk. Why are we prepping so hard?
It wouldn't be weird if new Kirk is Denny Craning Pike.
Yeah, 100%. Like they're gonna turn over. The tone's gonna be completely different, and then like, wait, this used to be a drama. I used to live in the real world, and now we're
weird.
Boston legal.
To put a point on it, and we'll talk about it later. But yeah, it is noticeable because it's the second time they've done it.
Yeah,
and he's doing things that they've established Pike doing. Like Pike would be the one to believe her. Pike would be the one.
Right. He's sort of just there for this episode, and like it's. I really liked Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. And so like I think if that had been we get Kirk once a season. Like he was great in the finale, of last season. If he was Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, and then maybe a cameo in the season finale, I think that's a great amount of Kirk.
Mm-hmm.
But this episode forcing Kirk in there, I don't know. Anyway, we'll keep going. They go to the sickbay, and Ramon is freaking out, and he attacks M'Benga and runs off. And they all give chase through the ship. And we begin Act 3. Pike is searching for Ramon, and the lights go out. And I don't know if you noticed this, because I had enough time to watch this twice, and watch it once like on my big screen and really like dive into it. But I became really distracted by the flooring, because this set is phenomenal. It's so great. But the flooring looks really beat up and scuffed, and you can see the seams in it. It almost looks like that cheap linoleum we'd put in your kitchen in the 90s.
I did not notice that, but I will actually now probably not be able to avoid it. Also, is this woman dead?
Super dead.
Because they're like, stay with her. So now Ramona's murdering people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Which makes it all the more like, what are we doing? Just like, Uhura, yeah, just keep doing your thing. Even though you're having the exact same issue. Anyway, he comes across a dead lady and discovers that Ramon has cut the power conduits. So he's also trying to sabotage this ship as well. And Uhura and Kirk each search separately. And she hears a crazy noise again and hallucinates that the walls are closing in on her. When Kirk wakes her up, she smartly says, let me head back to sickbay because I'm going crazy pants. This leaves La'an to run into Kirk for the first time since their time travel adventure, and she is still obviously super hot for the Kirk. Then Uhura alone notices a blood trail into a Jeffries tube. She calls Kirk and it's like, wait for me, I'm right around the corner. And Uhura's like, nope, and completely ignores it and heads up the Jeffries tube. That was bananas as well. She finds Ramon messing with the systems on the nacelle. She tries to reason with him instead of stunning him and sorting it out later.
What was her calculation here? That she's had the hallucinations. He's clearly crazy pants. She thought she could memory him to, she's like, this is how I grew up. Here's my daddy's name was Ralph. Well, that's going to jog his memory?
Well, I think the thought there is she's having trouble discerning what is real and what is not. So she's trying to say, I'm real, you can listen to me. But
yeah, guess what? You know what your horrifying hallucinations that want to kill you are going to say, Keith? I'm real, listen to me.
Well, right. And so he goes for the console again, and once again, instead of stunning him, she tries to push him out of the way, and of course he blows up most of the nacelle and himself into space. Kirk rescues Uhura and they beam out. But like, if she had just stunned him the minute she saw him, she would have A, saved his life, saved the nacelle, and just like the stun setting is there for a reason. Like, it was she is responsible for killing that guy, for not stunning him on the 2 opportunities that she had, and also messing up the ship.
Yeah, there's a better way to write that. Like, she could have had a hallucination that took her out of it, and then he punched. Like, there's
Sure,
so many.
there's
so many
any
ways.
number of ways that don't make her seem stupid. But that's what happened here. So later, Pike and Uhura discuss, and she says, hey, I got that thing where that guy who went crazy and murdered people himself and blew up in his cell. Maybe I should be confined to quarters.
And he says, I don't think it'll come to that.
Nah, don't worry about it.
Which is delivered in a way that almost seems like Anson Mount, the actor, they had shot this not sequentially, was waiting on pages, because he's like, clearly we have a plan, and I'm aware of the plan, and so I feel comfortable allowing her to be safe, right? But then those pages didn't come. So he's like, it just seems like he knows something here that clearly they don't know. Or no, he does say in the scene, to back it up a little bit, he does say, oh, the doctors, we got the best doctors on the Farragut, and they're working something out. I think he says that.
Something like, well, yeah, because your doctor has been incapacitated and is in surgery.
Yeah.
Right? Could we have reinforced that maybe this is really super dangerous? As hard as, like, it's inconceivably stupid. Kirk's just like, just go back and run around, do your thing. We're not even going to put like a security officer on you to like keep an eye on you or monitor you.
You know, the first time we hung out, you figured out the music language, so I suspect you're going to figure this one out too.
I mean, but you are hallucinating, just like that guy who blew up everything, right? I yelled at my television when that happened. Anyway, La'an runs into Kirk. They flirt for a bit, and they discuss his absent father, who chose to help other people, being in Starfleet instead of being there for his kids. Obviously, it's sort of like a military allegory here. And Pike, you know, obviously, and this informs what's going on with him and Sam as well.
Kirk.
Yes, Kirk. But Sam Kirk and Jim Kirk.
Yeah, you said Pike. That's all.
Oh, Pike. Oh, whatever. They're both handsome chin people. Yeah. So, anyway, but La'an says, hey, look, I was one of those people that Starfleet helped. So, yeah, he might have abandoned you as a kid, but it actually had a purpose. And I think that was interesting.
And they had a great, like, real, like, human connection as she's walking away. He's like, Kirkin. Hashtag Kirk.
Yeah, you know, you owe me that drink. Yeah.
And she's like, you're damn right I do.
Wow. Mike, I think maybe for the patrons, need to write some slash fiction for this.
No, I do appreciate that they're slow playing this, though, so it's not so, it doesn't become creepy like, well, your other alternate guy gave me the business, so now I'm going to give you the business. They're establishing a new relationship.
Uh-huh. Yeah, no, that's true. Shatner would have already pollinated that flower and moved on to another one by now. So here we are. So on the station, Pelia and Una have it out. I loved the scene. Pelia uses the word malarkey. Guys, that's malarkey. That's malarkey. That guy's telling you what's happening. It's trains. Which I thought was great. And Una calls Pelia a space hippie. And she has a pretty funny line about crumbs. When did you eat? I thought that was really funny.
Yeah. And
Pelia points out Una's buried narcissism. And Una then goes for the jugular and says, you've been in Starfleet for longer than I've been alive, yet I outrank you. Why do you think that is? I thought we've had beefs with the writing in this episode. That scene was written absolutely fantastic.
I agree.
So good.
And also credit where credit's due. I have been particularly critical of the Una character as well as Rebecca Romaine's performance at times, but I thought she was funny in this episode, excellent, well written, measured, all the good stuff.
And it was just a really well written conflict scene because, you know, I'm always talking about writing the characters to the top of their intelligence. It was zippy. They were both throwing haymakers fast, and it was like, you know, they're both characters who take the gloves off, and I thought it was really Really well written, really done. I was like, that's some good television right there. So back in Uhura's room, she tells Kirk about her dead parents who died in a shuttlecraft. And she's having a hard time even looking at pictures of her dead parents because of her grief. And now she's also lost Hemmer. Kirk says, our job puts us up against death more than is fair, and we need to face it and not forget those we've lost. And Celia Rose Gooding is acting the shit out of this scene when she realizes that something is trying to communicate with her via the hallucinations. But I think we should just interesting sort of philosophical thing here about, facing your grief, facing the ones that we have lost and not, burying them because it's traumatic to remember them. And I think, Kirk's point, we're in Starfleet, people die all the time. Especially in this era. I mean, people get redshirted, right? It's there for a reason. And you have to sort of make eye contact with your grief, which is kind of what this episode is about.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's what they want it to be about. But then it's like we have to bridge that into that somehow that realization makes her realize that they're using subliminal hallucinations to communicate with her. For me, as a bridge that is tough to build, but we're about to try to build it.
Well, I think they're only somewhat related, right? They're trying to communicate their grief and their horror about what's happening to them. And this just happens to trigger her own grief and her dealing with that. I don't necessarily think it's causal. I think it's just sort of coincidental that both of those things are happening.
Okay, that's fair.
Anyway, so she figures it out. So they're forced to go to Pornstash because he's an anthropologist. And she figures out that he sort of figures out, there are alien life forms trying to tell her that they're being killed by the deuterium collection. And, the refinery finally just turned on, starting mass murder of these little alien dudes in the deuterium.
So, but they're not in all deuterium. It's just the deuterium here. They took up residence in this little spot. Here.
Yes, because if they were in all the deuterium
I was going to say,
fields,
how are they going to power their ships anywhere?
That would kind of break. You can't break the science of it. You need your deuterium. They had a Next Gen episode where they did sort of an environmental allegory that warp drive was causing environmental damage to space, and so they put in a speed limit to try to limit the damage that it was doing. But they immediately realized we can't do that because
that's a gem.
Great. For someone who does so much good work in this episode, that is what we put on the internet. So great. Anyway, so they can't have it be all deuterium.
So let's attack this right now. So
okay,
we have to decide. I cycled back and watched the flashbacks again, and then they montage them for us.
Yes.
In no universe, even if you told me, hey, we're playing a game, figure out what's happening, okay? What is the message being sent to you from these flashbacks? In no draft of my opinions would I ever even have brushed the surface of what is actually going on here. But I guess we are to believe I'm not a genius communicator person like her.
Well, yes, a genius communication.
Genius communicator person is exactly what a genius communicator person would say.
Is how they would put it.
Yes.
As you communicate on the internet
as a communicator,
for 10 hours a week.
Communicator Ed.
She's a good talker good. Yeah. Well, yes, I think that is definitely a difficult pattern to recognize. It does make sense when they sort of explain it,
and
I would not have gotten it either.
The part that we are to, I think what we are to infer, because last night I was gonna rip this. I was like, that makes no effing sense. But The part we are missing, and I think they do a decent job implying to us, is that a good part of her interpretation is experiential. It's not just the visions, it's the feelings and that.
It's the emotional journey of it. Yes. I think that's a big part of it, but also we know Uhura's whole her whole superpower is recognizing patterns, recognizing messages in those patterns. I mean, she's is able to, she knows 10 trillion languages. She's, her job is to, somebody's talking to you in a language we've never heard.
And she understands, she technobabbles how the universal translator works here, and that makes a parallel, so that's cool.
So it does not strain my credulity that Uhura could do it. Kind of anybody else, I don't think it would have made sense, but for her, which is also probably why they chose her, because her brain works in a way that
But they chose that other guy too. They don't explain why it's just her and that other dude.
Well, he was probably their best guess who was available on the station at that point.
And I missed the point. They tried to explain it, that they're not intelligent beings, or they're a different intelligence. Like, what was that bit?
They don't have traditional language.
Okay.
So they couldn't just send a text. They only
and they're just
exist.
Mini is what it is? They're tiny? Or
they're itty bitty.
Okay.
Yeah. They're itty bitty. Anyway, for some reason, because we need to have an explosive finale, the refinery won't turn off, which Pelias speculates could have been part of the sabotage that Ramon did, which makes no sense because it would have been the literal opposite of his goal. Sabotage, to have it not work.
Unless he sabotaged the control portion, right? The on-off switch, thinking this way they can't turn it on. But he didn't.
But they're able to turn it on.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't really make a lot of sense. I didn't get it either.
So Kirk and Uhura rush to the bridge, and she hallucinates again. We learn, of course, that the black smoke she saw earlier was the fire from the shuttle accident that killed her family. She walks onto the shuttle and sees her dead parents, and she forces herself to make eye contact with her trauma. This is her healing moment. They get to the bridge, and she explains what's happening. We're killing the little creatures with our refinery here. And she sees Zombie Hammer there on the bridge, as well as they're sort of increasing the intensity of the communication they're trying to tell her. So she says, we got to stop doing this. And Pike takes her word for it. And here's another big wormhole I have in this. Literally blows up the entire damn station.
Billions of dollars.
Because there was no choice. There was no choice between blowing up the entire thing and leaving it up. Isn't there let's shoot the control module. Let's shoot the power source. Let's blow up the whole damn thing?
Well, Hammer's happy now. Hammer's happy, Keith. That's what he wanted.
But Zombie Hammer is now happy. Yeah, so it works.
There wasn't even the deliberation was, are you sure?
Yeah, which is back in keeping with the way Pike operates. He believes his people. He trusts his people. That part I didn't have a problem with. It's just, you blow up the station? There's got to be a piece you could blow up that doesn't blow up the entire freaking thing.
Yeah,
I understand
weird.
Time
it's
is of the essence. Mm-hmm. Time, you people are dying, you have to stop it as fast as you possibly can. I totally get that. But if a car, you shoot the tires, you shoot the engine, you don't blow up the entire car first. I don't know. Anyway,
and
so
if they're
Zombie Hammer is
microbial,
happy.
I mean, I guess it is just a mass genocide at this point because that thing is on. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. And
time is of the essence.
Time is of the essence. I do get that. But they had enough time to evacuate the station, which had to take at least 10 minutes to get everybody off, to get onto the escape pods and all that kind of stuff. So in that 10 minutes, we're all right, is there any part of this that we can blow off that will stop it from collecting?
Yeah, or how about, hey, we just spent all this time making a buddy-buddy relationship or a meeting of the minds of number one and Pelia. Why don't we
they have any ideas?
Beam them down and have them last minute fix it to turn it off, right? I guess we had to have the blow up.
We had to have the blow up, and it looks great. It's
But
really
we already
cool.
had the ship blow up earlier. We had our explosion. Some guy got sucked out and icicled. I mean, that was good.
Yeah, it makes no sense that was the only solution they had here. Anyway, later Una finally confronts Pelia.
Dude, I love. Wait, hold on. You forgot the best part. We just blew up this thing. Blew it the hell. And Pike's like, "Hey, I'm gonna need you to call up Starfleet and tell them to send me the check." Basically, that's what he says.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "Yeah, send my suit out for dry cleaning."
Yeah, we might have some explaining to do here. So we find out with Una and Pelia that Pelia was also Una's teacher in the academy and gave her a C. And they argue about that. That's funny, but Pelia knows it's really about Hemmer and people adjusting to her replacing Hemmer. And she, as somebody who has seen that happen countless times, being a long-lived creature, she understands what's happening. They're
it's funny
fine.
that we
They're
haven't even
cool
said
now.
Hemmer's name since last season. Like we barely addressed it this season.
That's 100% true.
It's the 6th episode.
Yeah,
But now it's
don't
like we
worry
got to
about
make sure we got to remind everybody that we are grieving. There's grief.
it. Yeah. That's convenient. grief.
Meanwhile, that actor's like, "Thank God, I need that paycheck."
Yeah, although I did have to put on. Think about how much makeup he had to be regular Hemmer and zombie Hemmer. He spent 6 weeks in the makeup
I
chair.
know. Half his shots are like on an iPad.
Yeah, right, exactly. So then we go to 10 forward and we have Space Jazz. Where's Riker playing the sweet trombone? And why this happens every time there's ever music on a television show in human history. You can't find an extra who actually plays drums. Like, they don't speak. They don't have lines. They don't have to be an actor. You can't have somebody who's like, I'm drumming. Look at me.
Man. You know what's even worse, Keith, is there's so many talented actor musicians in this city of New York, and you go see a Broadway play, I don't know, Back to the Future, and you're just watching people like just massacre fake play guitar, and you're like, you're not even you could try. You could at least try.
Hey, look, as somebody who has fake played violin while the Titanic sang with a dislocated finger from playing football on the tour, I had to play violin with my pinky up.
Yeah, well, you're not the Back to the Future isn't an E tier tour.
Z tour.
Yeah.
Anyway, Uhura and Kirk have a drink, and Sam Kirk comes up, and Jim Kirk continues being an asshole to his brother and will not apologize. Sam comes in.
He doesn't owe him anything.
He does. He totally undermined his entire life.
Get out of here.
It's like you're just being a loser. You're like a little loser science nerd. Why aren't you trying to get promoted? You and your like anthropology degree.
He only said that after he came at him, and he's like, "Oh, way to go, being a hero just to spite me." And he's like, "What are you talking? I'm not being just to spite you. If you want the acclaim, you're gonna have to get out of the lab, man."
In this scene, he comes up and he apologizes.
He then says in that first scene, I forgot to mention, he also says, "Look, man, we're going about our things, doing things. You make your mark your way, I'll make mine, man. That's cool. Get out of here."
Well,
no, we're not arguing this.
While you are, what was it? Was the word languishing in the?
He said that after he had been attacked, man. That was a defensive it was a defensive spar, and then he calmed down and he was rational after that. I thought it was just fine. Team Kirk. Thank you.
No. Team Sam. Team Porn Stash, guys.
Get out of here.
No, 100%.
Team guy who was going to get written out of history in 3, 2.
But also, Kirk has the upper hand. I mean, James Kirk has the upper hand. He's the flashy one. He's the guy who's, doing all these things. He's outranks
Sam
his brother.
has that Kirk blood. We don't see it on the show, but Sam's at 10 forward every night. He's got his fingers in the pie too, buddy. Don't worry about it. He's Kirkin too. He's Kirkin.
He's eating pudding with his fingers too.
He's hashtag Kirkin. All right.
No, don't like it. Anyway, Spock comes up and commiserates about Sam. They're like, "Yeah, your brother's a loser," and they shake hands, and it's the first meeting of the iconic duo And the last part of my summary is 0.02.02 because Charlie. All right, so it is now.
No, we get a really cool back
really
out
cool
the
zoom out
doors.
of out of 10 forward. All right, so let us do our what do we call them, Mike?
Punch that shit!
Punch it, punch it, punch it!
Just punch it, man, just punch it! Punch it, punch it, punch it!
Let's punch it.
Hit it.
Yo, Adrian! It's the Punchies!
It is the Punchies. Let us discuss wormholes in the plot. Oh, you hammered the Punchies too.
I did,
wow.
man. I did.
Full talent this week.
I gave it to you. So we've been talking about them the whole time. In fact, the wormholes here, I think, is the problem because this episode is sort of death by 1,000 wormholes for me. The big ones are less specific scientific wormies, although I have some. You really have to go down the suspension of disbelief well in order to really grok the whole. They communicate by latching on to your memory synapse and piecing together a Pictionary version of their.
That part I actually totally bought. That's a very Star Trek thing. That was fine for me.
It was, yeah, okay. But we'll start there. Backtracking, we've talked about a bunch of them. The people behaving in ways they wouldn't behave, right? And mostly Pike, right? He doesn't seem, nobody believes her in the beginning about the hallucination thing. They're like, you just don't have enough sleep. Well, that doesn't make you have horrific. The deuterium poisoning thing, I guess, is a decent MacGuffin. I think that's my major wormhole, is just people behaving in non-competent ways on a show that generally heroizes competency. So I'll put it that way without going through the specifics, which we enumerated throughout the episode. But if you want to get a little more specific, feel free.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think just the wormholes here are just logical people behaving wildly illogical.
Not confining her to her room until they knew what was going on is the main big one.
Insanity. So
her not shooting the dude as he's about to blow up the thing. Weird.
Right. It's like everybody treating real significant danger as if it's not. And just not paying any attention to oh wow, this whole situation is super dangerous. Multiple people have died in the last 2 hours, and we're not going to take it seriously. And it's this is absolute insanity. So that part of it is ridiculous, and also they sort of then overcompensated by blowing up the whole station, and so it was just everybody sort of treating real peril not as real peril, and then overreacting at the end. I think that's really what it was. I mean, the basic storyline of oh hey, this thing that we think that we're doing that has no consequences, that's not hurting anybody and we have to find a way to communicate that. We've done that on Star Trek a million times, and that's great. I mean, that's part of your 4 food groups of Star Trek, right? And it's sort of about environmental damage. Oh, hey, you know what? Coal smoke up in the air actually has some consequences. We didn't think it did, but oh, it's actually bad for something, and we have to adjust. That's, basic Star Trek. But there's just the logic of all the characters' behavior just went out the window. So that's really my main wormholes. Let's talk about best moment.
Yeah, I think we both would agree that's perfectly written scene between number 1 and Pelia. Because it's just 2 strong women, 2 strong characters, written really well, not backing down, airing their grievances, acting well off one another. Some great singers. You said it really well. Throwing
really snappy dialogue. Yeah,
and it's in and out. It achieves its purpose and it gets out of there. I thought that's the best, for sure, the best scene in the show. In this episode. Yeah,
super fun. I agree with you, but I'll use my time to just shout out Celia Rose Gooding with her sort of emotional pathos throughout this episode. She's remarkable.
Yeah, as much as I may have had an issue with her with maybe the figuring it out, she sells it. She sells it. And so, like I said, even if I don't think I could have figured it out, I believe that she did in that moment, which is all that really matters.
Yeah. It's just remarkable work. So that's the best moment. I think it's time to hand out some STEM balls.
You get some STEM balls. Hell yeah, they are self-sealing. Here are some STEM balls for you.
Yeah, the wormholes, they bug me, because it's just not the logical sequence of events, right? Which that makes it end up being their shortcuts, right? Because there's like certain tent poles. We need to force Kirk into the episode, so we'll write some crap to get him on, and then it's just becomes crap because it's not thought through. We want the big explosion, so we'll backdoor this guy. It doesn't make any sense. And Pike has been really good, and he's not in the episode. And when he is in the episode, he's making decisions that don't make any sense. And then when he does make a consequential decision, they toss it off. Like that whole thing where they blow up the station doesn't feel fraught. It feels fraught with stakes from a timeline perspective, but then they don't really let the consequences of what they just did weigh, right? They're gonna have to. So is Starfleet just gonna have to take their word for it that there were these entities? Like, are we gonna maybe just assume they'll go back and study and find them? And I don't know. We don't deal with anything.
Yeah.
And I think that highlights something we've talked about on the show before, but I'm still a little disappointed in, is that Strange New Worlds, right? It's cool. We're meeting new species. Very cool. But we don't actually spend any time with them. We're not getting down to the nitty gritty. I would have liked if we had gotten the MacGuffin of this, or gotten the we'd gotten the hook of this, right? It's these little guys trying to communicate with us. Basically, it's Horton Hears a Who, right? Is what this is.
Yeah, right, yeah.
But let's introduce the Who's much earlier.
Me, Uhura.
Yeah, much earlier, so that we can see the process of her trying to communicate with them. And that's the interesting bit to me. The new species on the new little planet. They don't have a planet.
What are you trying to say? What's going? Yeah.
Because as you said, what this writing team is really good with is talking about nuanced, emotional, traumatic therapy almost, right?
Yeah.
Behavioral therapy.
It's very trauma focused. Yeah.
In a really nuanced, allegorical way, with really great actors who are able to perform it and to deal with it delicately. They do it great. So I wish we got the sci-fi stuff written with as much care in many ways.
Yes.
Because that writing, the sci-fi writing, seems haphazard in a lot of ways. A lot of, not haphazard, using a lot of Band-Aids and toothpicks and gummy bears to...
I think that's a really good point. And I think, like, the criticism of Next Gen is that the balance is often the opposite direction. Like, it's all about the sci-fi. The emotional part of it is really kind of, on the back burner and not particularly important. This feels like the opposite, right? It's just like the writers are interested in the emotional part, the trauma stuff, and I am too. Like, I'm 100% like it's great, but the sci-fi takes a back seat to that, and I think that it is worse off for not being in balance.
Now, that all said, I think the horror beats are really cool, and there's some good tension. Sound design is, I say it all the time, but it is effing immaculate in this show. So good. Their choices, where they put their money is really great. The performances across the board, even when the characters aren't behaving the best way. It's even like that LARPing episode. Maybe we take it or leave it, but the performances are 100% dedicated. They throw themselves into them. And so you end up, you never feel like anything is trash or bad. You feel like, oh man, that's a missed opportunity. That could have been so much better, which is tough, because I think a lot of people end up liking these episodes more than we did and saying that we're being harsh. And the thing is that it's actually the opposite of that. I'm not being harsh. I just think you can see it. It's like you're so close to writing 10 out of 10 out of the parks every week.
Yeah.
And it's like just a little bit, it feels just like a little bit, more pass.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Finish your thought.
So it's hard to put a number on that, but it's funny, despite all the stuff, this is like, it's really compelling in a lot of ways. And it's like the episode it could have been if they just shifted the focus. Anyway, that all said, I'm still really high on it. And I think I'm going to be in the 70s. You know what? It wasn't that great a student, Keith. I'm just saying that because it's dead. I'm using the Peoria joke. You see what I was trying to do there?
I get you. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
I think it's like a firm 70, 78.
Yeah. No, I think you're right about all of that. It's a frustrating one because, like, on its face, it's a it's not like a spectacular episode, but it's a very meat and potatoes Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
Right. This is a story that we've told many times. It's kind of one of your, like I said, it's one of the 4 food groups of Star Trek. We discover something we don't understand. We realize that we're causing damage we didn't know about. And so we have to find a way to communicate so we can stop doing the thing. Right. Very basic, very standard Star Trek. I think they did it in an interesting way. I like the sort of hallucination beat a bit and being driven crazy. It's an episode we've seen on Next Gen. It's an episode we see on Voyager and Deep Space Nine. Like all of them, we've done this episode. So I don't say that as a criticism. I say that as that's part of the lexicon of Star Trek. However, I think it desperately needed another logic pass. And that what the other series do a little bit better is like, okay, we've got our emotional beats, we've got our mystery. Now let's just tighten it all up and make sure that all of the A to B to C makes sense. And I think that if the writing room in this show has proven they have an Achilles heel or it's Achilles heel, or it's just, I think it's more just laziness.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that they're lazy. I'm just saying that they're not being held to the standard of holding up that piece of it. And I think I think the show suffers for it. I think the show would be really fantastic if they just, that last 45 minutes before lunch, let's make sure that this logic is tight. Let's smooth out the wormholes. I think that would really help it. So at the end of the day, it comes in for me, kind of where you put it, at a 77. So there we go. That is Lost in Translation. And while I do our tag here, Mike's going to go into our into the Dropbox and pull up a slide that our good friend JD sent us in the. It's going to be in your Strange News Show generic folder. Okay. And you should see it and recognize what it is, because as we are here criticizing the writers
in the master folder,
in the Master Strange New Show folder.
Okay, and what does it say?
It'll be, well, you'll see. It is going to say that we stand with the writers and the WGA.
Okay. We sure do.
As we criticize all of the writing of the episode, pick it apart and call them lazy, we stand with the writers here in the strike that is happening. Even though we are doing criticism, it's just there it is. And there's another one there as well. But JD sent this to us to incorporate into our shows while the strike is happening, also supporting SAG-AFTRA for sure, which we very much do here on the show. So we thank everybody who created this show and want them to be compensated fairly by the producers of this show. If you would like to compensate us unfairly, you can do so at patreon.com/KNM. You can also check out all of our other shows here on the YouTube channel and in your ear holes on your podcast feed. Next week, we will be talking about those old scientists, Mike, these old scientists. Mike's got a little homework to do. I'm really looking forward to talking about it. We will see you back here in your feeds on Friday, even though we dropped this on a Saturday this week. Till then, this has been Strange New Show. Keith and Mike watch Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Thank you for watching K&M Entertainment. If you enjoyed our particular brand of nonsense, please like and subscribe. Or become one of our patrons at patreon.com/KNM.